welcome to the InHERview podcast. I am your host, Jay Renee, and I am so excited to have my very first guest on this series called God's Extraordinary Daughters. And if you will, just give a round of applause for Steffon Jenkins. Thank you very much for that applause. She is a phenomenal woman of God. The list of things that God has given her range from being an author, from being a mentor, a motivational speaker. She is a jewelry designer. She is a woman who walks in many gifts. And I am so glad to have her on the show today. And so this is part one of God's Extraordinary Daughters. And thank you, Steffon, for being my guest today. I'm so glad to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. So listen, we're just going to dive right into this. And for those of you who don't know much about the InHERview podcast, we have a very, very simple motive, and that is to normalize hard conversations from a Christian woman's perspective. And so we are women who walk with God, in God. We have all of our abilities through God. Everything that we touch and do is because God has graced us to do so. And because of that, what we love to do is pour that back into others, because anything God gives us is not meant to keep for ourselves. It's meant to give to others. And so this platform is a place where women of faith gather to handle, to heal, and to work through hard conversations. And so, Steffon, I am excited to talk about everything Steffon right now. Okay. And then we're going to start off with you being an author. So I know that you have two publishings out at the moment, one in which is a prayer journal and the other is a book. And so let's talk about your prayer journal. Let's talk about what inspired. Well, you know what? Since the book came before the prayer journal, correct?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the book first, because I know that book was birthed out of a very deep place for you, a place where you had to have the courage to talk about and share the traumas, the trials that you went through as a young lady, as a young child, even up to now as an adult woman. And so this book really exposes the true trauma of violence, domestic violence, all kinds of mental and emotional and physical abuse. And you really dive into that in this book. So give us a little bit more about the kind of the infrastructure of this book and how it really came together for you.
Absolutely. So the book that was first book, The Grip of Darkness, was published last summer during COVID, during the pandemic.
Wow.
It was very important for me to push that baby out at that time. And it wasn't something that was planned, but I just knew now's the time, especially with the pandemic and everything that was, everything that the pandemic brought upon many of the people, anxiety, depression, isolation, dealing with all of that mentally and emotionally and spiritually, because it talks about some of the most darkest situations and catastrophic circumstances that I have been in, from childhood. I thought, no better time but now, because it also brings healing. So the book for me, I wrote 3 years prior to last year.
Wow.
During a 3-year period. And it was more therapeutic for me, trying to, release a lot of, because we can't help to heal others if we still have a whole bunch of issues on the inside of us.
Absolutely.
And so even though they might not visually seem to be affecting us, a lot of times when you get it out, you have that release, and then God can infill you You know what I mean? With his glory. Now there's room. So
Yes.
that stuff, it just had to come up and out. And I just started writing. And my mentor, Prophet Erica Urquhart, encouraged me to publish the book.
Mm,
And 3 years ago, well, now it's been closer to 5 years. I'm like, it just sounds so far fetched. Me, an author, even though it's something that I desired, I didn't think it was something tangible.
mm,
And I just wrote and wrote just to get, like you said, to expose, some of those uh issues, being
yeah.
homeless in high school. I can't say too much because you have to read the book.
That's
And
right. Don't give it all away. Steffon, don't give
yes,
it all away. We
I
want them
won't.
to get the book.
I want
So
them
do
to
not
get
give
the
it
book.
away.
I won't. I'm not going to say anything. It was just very therapeutic. And during the pandemic, I took a leap of faith.
Yeah. Now, I want to circle back to something you said because it made me think.
Yes.
You said that, you know, the book, when it was written, it was pre-COVID. And who would have thought that COVID would even be around here at this time? But what I realize is COVID was a time for people to sit with them, with their feelings, to sit with their realities, to sit with themselves, face their families. We also know that there was a spike in domestic violence during
Yes.
that time as well.
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
so now we're looking at God orchestrating a time, an appointed time for this book to be released so that women and men who are experiencing domestic violence can have a resource of someone who can say, hey, I've been there and this is what you don't want. This is
Yes.
something that God can free you from. This is something that you can be healed from. This is something that you should seek therapy for. This is something that you can come out of with
Absolutely.
resources, whether they're spiritual and natural. This is something that you do not have to live with any longer. And so when I think of God's perfect appointed time, that's something that he put in you. Your experiences were not null and void. They were not in vain.
Thank
They
you,
were
Lord.
for an
Yes.
appointed time to bless those who needed to hear this inspiration, even through tragedy,
Yes.
to be inspired to pursue healing from something that is, I mean, it's so abundant and so common in our time and many times
Yes.
before. And so I just look at, how God just orchestrates things. He is so amazing with that. Like, Lord, you just,
Right.
you know how to turn the dial just right so that
That's
we end up
right.
right where we need to be.
It's amazing. It's
Isn't it
amazing.
amazing? And
Amazing.
so I also heard you say, I didn't think anything beyond my writings, were for me. And someone told you, no, that's a gem for others. And it's just amazing how we don't see ourselves as
Yes.
a vessel to pour sometimes. It's like, I just want to write, or I just want to hum in the shower, or I just want to,
Exactly.
uh, do this over here by myself. And then someone comes along and say, oh my goodness, that's a gem. That's something that needs to be poured. That's
Right.
not just for your cup. That cup needs to run over to others. And so I'm so glad that there was someone in your life
Me too.
whom I adore, by the way. She's my girl. I love her. She's an amazing woman of God. She will be on the show at some point. Um,
Yes. Yes.
but you had someone in your corner that could see you.
Thank you,
And
Lord.
I can't stress enough for women to have someone in your corner that
Mm.
can see you.
That's
Because
good.
when they can't see you, they
Mm.
don't know when to pull out of you the things that God is trying to, like you said, birth, right?
Yes.
They
Right.
don't know. So having people around you who can see you and see you through the lens of the Holy Spirit, so important. And to
Powerful.
women who are listening, who may not be women who are walking in relationship with the Lord, you still want women around you. If you don't have a strong woman of faith in your life, I say get one. But if you don't, be around people who can see you beyond where you are, who don't constantly remind you of where you don't want to be.
Yes.
You got those, right? There's
They're
people
always
who
around.
they're always around, they're always, they can't see your growth. They can't see your potential. They can't see an untapped gift. They can't see the little sparks of creativity that may be within you. They come to your house. You want someone that could come to your house and see something on the table like, oh, that's nice. You know what? This room is really nice. Did you design this? Oh, yeah, I did. You really have an eye for that. Have you thought about this, and that?
Right.
You want that friend. You want that sis, right?
Yeah.
Because we talk about here on the InHERview podcast, being a real sis, being sincere, being integral, and being supportive. You need one of those.
You need one.
So you had Erica in your corner. Erica's like, listen, that's a book. And you say, all right, Lord, let it be so. And you go forward with it. And then tell me about the feeling you felt when you hit the publish button. What was that feeling like? Let's talk about that.
Well, funny you should ask, because my answer is not going to be the normal answer.
That's okay.
I wasn't excited because so many things went awry during the process for release, of releasing. I had a specific date intended in mind that was very dear to me. So I am a survivor of domestic abuse. My mother did not survive. And she was murdered in 1997 on August 30th. I wanted my book to be released on that day so that it would signify new life for me.
Yeah.
So when it did not happen, even though I was told it was going to happen, I lost it. When I tell you I lost it, and I am not one that is easily impressed, and I've been through a lot, so it takes. But I'm also an empath, so that's a whole nother. But it takes a lot to get me to that point where I lost it because that was so important to me. I thought, and I have to share this. Sometimes we think what needs to happen is the right thing to happen, not even understanding God's original plan or that he has something totally different in mind.
Yeah.
And even though that was my plan, it wasn't God's plan. And I was in the shower. That's my place of, we already talked.
That's right. That's right. That's where the Lord meets many of us.
That's where it is.
That's when the guard is down.
Yes.
Literally naked before the Lord.
Yes,
literally.
Naked before the Lord. I say that all the time. And I'm pouring out, and I heard he just as clear as day. And he, I can't verbatimly get the word, but basically he was like, he said, that's not what I want. And he basically said, this is a new birthing. I want to give you something new so that you can celebrate you.
Yes.
And then he said, it's okay to celebrate you.
Absolutely.
See, for so many years, we don't forgive ourselves for a lot of things. We hold ourselves captive over a lot of stuff. We don't celebrate us. And we are our worst critics. And that was me. And and also another part of that was, like you said, I didn't believe that I had this to birth.
Wow.
Like, who wants to hear about this? And the Lord said, celebrate yourself, daughter. You've come a long way. It's okay to celebrate yourself. When I tell you that broke something in me, because I'm ministering for years, I'm teaching Bible study, I'm leading praise and worship. I'm leading, the youth department and all of this stuff. But at the same time, I still don't believe in myself. I still don't
Wow.
believe the gift that he has given me for such
Jesus.
a time as this. So he had to break me. So at first, I wasn't happy during the but I got happy.
Oh,
After
I
I was
believe
delivered.
that. Steffon, as you're talking, I just have to say, and listen, this is full disclaimer for anyone watching or listening to this podcast. We allow the Holy Spirit to move and work. And so when when the Lord starts to give us prophetic words to speak, when he begins to bring revelation, we share it here. And so you may hear throughout this podcast and many others, you may hear words of prophecy being brought forth, and that's what we do, and that's what we allow, because God is the head of this platform. And so I just wanted to say that before I share with you. As you were talking, I heard the Lord say, because I didn't want it to be a memorial, I wanted to be a celebration. He didn't want what he had for you because to be a offering to commemorate your mother, but it was to glorify him for the new things. And so I just heard the Lord say, because I didn't want it to be a memorial.
Thank you, Lord. Yes.
Because although we love our loved ones and we care about them and we honor their time in our lives and what they represent, the Lord wants all glory. And so I've experienced people who struggle with that, who struggle to keep God as the forefront of why they're successful, or why, and you hear people say a lot of things like, oh, because of my ancestors, or, oh, it was my mother, it was my uncle, it was my cousin looking out over me and helped me do this. And it's like, no, it's the Lord. And he wanted all glory. And he said, he wanted you to know and to believe and to feel that he gave you this gift. It was a gifting. It was almost like a ceremony, not a memorial, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? And so I'm glad that you allow God to do that for you.
Yes.
Because now it's something that it's personal. Woo. I mean, a mother-daughter relationship is personal, but the father, and that goes a little bit deeper, don't it? Don't like this is a little bit deeper than flesh and blood. And so I thank God that you were receptive to what he was trying to do in you. And then you got happy after that. And here comes the prayer journal. So let's talk about this prayer journal. What did that, look like for you initially? And now that you got the courage to write and share, and no stopping that pen at this point. So let's talk about that. Tell us what inspired you to do that, because I feel that is a very useful tool in guided worship. And guided for those who may need some guide in their prayer time or in their devotional time, but also those who are seeking a relationship with the Lord and don't know how to approach that relationship. Tools like this and resources like a prayer journal really are helpful. So what made you decide that this was the right move for you?
Actually, the prayer journal was it was a project that was posted on Facebook by Relentless Publishing Corporate Incorporation. It was my new publisher, yay! And they are amazing. And it was like a challenge for me, because one thing, what happens when you start writing and you actually publish, it becomes a little addictive.
Oh, good to know. Good to know.
Yes. You're like, oh, I can do this, especially if you love writing. And so it becomes like second nature. And I have all of this material because I'm always writing. And when you're teaching a lot, you have a lot of material, you always have stuff.
Yes.
And she posted on Facebook, join a prayer, you want to write a prayer journal? Write a prayer journal. And I forgot the timing. And I was like, that'll be so, because it's not as extensive as the book,
Right.
So I
Right.
was like, oh, okay, well, maybe. And then I thought about it because it could have been about anything. And I said, you know what? Women winning over fear, this would be something for them.
Yes.
So it's Women winning over fear, more than a survivor prayer journal.
Oh, that's
And it's
beautiful.
so good. I want to say, I've heard it. Well, I think it's so good,
Of
but I've
course.
heard,
Of course.
I've heard feedback, from a couple of people that have purchased it, and they said it's very sobering.
Mm.
And I said, that's a beautiful word.
Yeah, that
No?
actually strikes. I think when I hear something being sobering, I feel like I kind of connect that synonymously to aligning,
Yes,
because
right?
it kind of takes you from where you think you are or what you think you know, and it kind of repositions you. It kind of
Yes.
aligns you with a more a deeper thinking or a deeper understanding. So that is a very interesting word, sobering.
And that's powerful you just said that, because I leave room, for different activities. It's an interactive journal.
Mm-hmm.
And, not just writing, but thinking and
Yes.
moving beyond, like you just said, moving beyond where you think you are.
Wow.
So yeah, that's funny you should say that. Yeah.
I love it. I think prayer journals are so amazing. I have a few guests coming on the show soon that have written um prayer journals on
Oh
specific
wow.
topics. And
Wow.
I just find it so fascinating. I love the creativity, even just the different topics, because there's general prayer journals, but then there's also those that hone in on a particular area. And
Yes.
some people are are just in a particular space. They're not, they need that guidance. They need to focus in
Right.
on this one thing, and having someone present to you a guided devotional and journal that allows you to be interactive, that
Right.
allows you to focus on this one area that sometimes it's like, Lord, it's just this one thing. It's
Yes,
just
it's
this one
one thing.
area, Lord.
Yes.
I feel settled in many different areas, but Lord, this one, like
One.
I need you to
Yes.
speak to me right here. And then
Yes.
he sends Steffon to write it. And then here we are. Okay. So I'm so excited about that too, because this is much needed. But as you mentioned, women winning over fear, and you have your Facebook platform, and you
Yes.
have Fearless
Yes.
Fridays, and it's every Friday, and these dynamic discussions that
Yes.
I'm so glad I get to listen to in between my toddler, making a bunch of noise. I get to chime in from time to time. I just love that platform and the way you have it laid out. It's so inviting, it's not intimidating. It's beautiful. So tell
Thank
me
you.
and share with us how you have come to this place, because I know you mentioned to me before that you didn't, you started off doing it and you were like, okay, Lord, it's been, this
Yes.
amount of time, and oh, I think I'm done here. You don't want to overdo it. You don't want to stay
Right.
beyond your welcome, and it's one of those things that the women like, wait a minute, where are you going? Like, bring that back. We need more of that. Don't stop. This is feeding me. This is blessing me. This is
Yes.
bringing healing to me. This is challenging me. This is growing me.
Yes.
So talk to us about, you know, that passion. Like what fuels women winning over fear? What is the the driving force of that particular platform for you?
So for Fearless Fridays, Fearless Fridays is an extension of Women Winning Over Fear, but it's geared towards men and women. So,
Mm-hmm.
whoever needs to be empowered or encouraged, or, wants to come
Yes.
on this. I've had, male guests all the time. Um, but one of the things that the passion for doing Fearless Fridays was during the pandemic, having something, since we were shut down,
Yeah.
and I could no longer do, uh, you know, meetings in person for WWOF, I prayed. I'm like, Lord, you have to give me something. I feel like I'm
Yes.
just doing nothing. I'm one of those. I gotta be, I gotta
Uh-huh.
do, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, and I didn't hear anything for a little bit, and then all of a sudden, he just spoke to me, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that's amazing. And I started again, like you said, I started doing it. We went strong for a year, and the what drives me is seeing that it's affecting others in a positive way. You know what I
Yes.
mean? That getting that feedback, like, hey, are you doing Fearless Friday? Getting those messages or those texts or those
Yeah.
calls. It's like, oh wow, like you really don't think you're making an impact, but in some degree you are,
Absolutely.
and it doesn't take thousands. If I could just touch one, then I've done my
That's
part.
it.
That's it. All it takes is one.
That's
And
it.
that was my passion. And like I said, I did it for a year. We celebrated. I had balloons behind me. We celebrated our year. We sang happy birthday. I had plenty of guests come on. I haven't had you yet, so get ready. I
Oh, cool.
have plenty
I
of
look
guests.
forward to it.
I have, had just plenty of guests come on, and I'm like, okay, because like you said, sometimes we take molehills and turn them into mountains. And the Lord is like,
Hmm.
no, I just needed you to do that for a season. So I didn't want to overstep my bound. I didn't want to do that. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, guys, the world's moving again. We're good.
Yeah, you're like, bye. See,
Bye,
thank
see
you for coming. It's been great.
y'all. And I went that first Friday after the fact, people were hitting me up, don't feel this Friday. And I'm like, did you watch the last, we ended this program. And I had to go back, I had to really pray about it, because what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Steffon, this really reminds me of how we say to the Lord, my life is not my own. I give myself to you. I'm a vessel to be used however you see fit. And then, this is that defining moment where it's like, okay, do you mean that? Because
Right.
I may have you move and continue to move in a
Listen.
direction, and you're thinking, oh Lord, well, it seems like we're done here. And he's like, yeah, no. And when we would rather, move on to something else, it's not that we didn't love what we were doing, or it's not that
Exactly.
we
Right.
we gave up. It's, you know, we don't want to keep working, outside of God's plan. And well,
Right.
it must be done because, this was just like a bridge over a hard time. You didn't think that it would be a staple in your ministry
Mm,
platform. But
mm,
lo and behold, the Lord had more plans, because why? He's like, as long as I'm pouring, you're pouring. As long as I'm, you're my conduit. You're my vessel. And so as long as I'm pouring into you, yeah, honey, you're gonna keep pouring. And
and
it
that
just
is
reminds me of
mm,
how we are not our own, and we have to mean that,
we're not. We're not. And it's funny because I could be out at the store, Stop and Shop, or wherever, Walmart, my favorite store, and I see people that are like, Fearless Friday, they don't remember my name. It's either WWOF or Fearless Friday. I'm like, oh man,
That's beautiful.
it is
That's so
awesome.
beautiful to know that you're touching lives, to know that you are, in a place where God wants you, and these gifts are being utilized in the greatest capacity, um, fearlessly, and even with all that going on, you still find time to be a jewelry designer. So let's like roll into that, because I mean, gee, you're writing, you're speaking, you're hosting, and now it's like, oh yeah, but by the way, I got a few more tricks up my sleeve here. I am a jewelry designer. And so I know that this particular part of you came out of a very interesting experience that you had in a conference. And so share how this beautiful
Yeah.
business came about.
So, uh, T-shirt and Pearl conference a couple of years ago, hosted by LaShonda Lee Harper. I was
Yes.
on her committee the first 2 years, on her board, and everybody was talking about buying this and buying that, and yeah, I could, but I'm gonna make mine
Mm.
because I used to play around with it. My grandmother made jewelry out of anything. She used to, God rest her soul. And I guess it's something I picked up from her. And I haven't done it in so many years, but I'm like, I can do that. So I go buy the materials, I get everything. I'm working it out and I
Uh-huh.
post. Actually, it's funny because a memory came up the other day and it was the original. And I
Oh
posted
my.
it. I said, this is what started Empress Creations. And I posted the set and it was like a 3-strand or 4-strand. It was bad. For my first time,
Mm.
it was bad. Listen, I have to pat myself on the
Go
shoulder.
ahead, girl.
And next thing, my inbox like, please, can you make me pearls? So a lot of the women that were at, T-shirt and pearls that first year was featuring Empress Creations.
Isn't that something?
It blew my mind.
Oh, it sounds like
It blew my
everything that
mind.
God puts your hands to produces something beautiful. And that's just amazing that, thinking I'm just going to do the again, I was going to
Yeah.
make mine. I didn't think that I could become a jewelry designer. I didn't think that I could, and it's like what you thought was just for you. The
Mm.
Lord once again is saying, "Oh no, daughter. Oh
No,
no.
no.
I got something more. This is for everyone else as well." And I want you to see what beautiful things your hands can create, whether it's writing, whether it's creating jewelry, no matter what it is, your hands produce. And I just thank God for your courage to let God use you. Pour in, pour out. And this is beautiful. I wanted to feature you, as God's extraordinary daughter, because I think sometimes it could be assumed that extraordinary means big and huge platforming, but
Yeah.
really extraordinary means I am yielding to the
Mm.
capabilities assigned to my life, because
Wow.
anything God assigns is extraordinary.
Yes, it is. Yes,
And
it
and
is.
you're extraordinary, Steffon, because of the yielding,
Thank you.
because you let God you do what he wants to do, because you say yes. And I have a saying, I don't want to do good things. I want to do God things,
I
because
like
it's
that.
easy to do good things.
I
It's
like that.
easy, but to do God things, it takes faith. It doesn't take faith to do something good. Something good could be just, um, uh, uh, holding a door for someone, or helping someone with their bags, or
Yes.
doing
Right.
those are
Right.
good things to do,
Right.
and they don't take faith. Oh, but God things,
Mm.
they take faith. And so you, my dear, are doing some God things. You are doing some amazing things, and you are truly God's extraordinary daughter. And I thank you for just sharing that. But I want to circle around
Okay.
back to your story of being, I want to say, a domestic violence conqueror,
Mm.
because surviving is wonderful, but after you survive it, meaning it didn't kill you, now you got some necks to trample on. there's some
Listen.
there's some things that you're going to step on in order to make
Listen.
sure they don't rise back up.
So you
So,
tapping into the prayer journal because
oh
I can't
my.
say there's a little bit more to the prayer journal. So it is more than a survivor, but when you open it up, it goes into it. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. We don't just survive. There's another piece to that. And I can't say it because
Yes.
it's going to give it away. You got to get the prayer journal.
We're not gonna give it
Listen.
away. Listen, listeners, get the prayer journal, okay? You know, I say that because I think about, you know, we're in October and we know during
Yes.
this month is you know, people are celebrating Halloween. They're getting ready for Halloween celebrations, and I personally don't celebrate Halloween. However, I keep seeing the commercials for another Mike Myers movie, Halloween, and you know, you would think that they then killed this man 100
Right?
times, but he keep coming back. And I said to myself, I said, see, that's how the world deals with surviving.
Yes.
You know, he keep coming back. He's still a threat, no matter how many times you think you got rid of him. But when the Lord does it,
My God.
when the Lord does it, nothing resurrects that the Lord puts down. Nothing that he destroys can be resurrected. And so I thank God because he has keys to death, hell, and the grave. And what he kills, what he stomps on, what he destroys will not come back to you again. And so, Lord, I survived the violence, but now I'm ready to conquer the trauma. I'm ready to conquer the pain. I'm ready to conquer the enemy that keeps trying to make me stay that scared little girl, that scared woman, that scared young boy, that scared man. I want you, Lord, to remove the threat, to remove the things that try to keep me in that place of trauma. And so truly, I believe that conquering has occurred because you're glowing, sis.
Thank you.
You're glowing, and I love it. I love seeing what God has done in you. So out of all that God has done, do we get a little hint as to what's next for you?
Ooh,
is something coming?
Something will be coming soon.
Okay.
Book number 2 is coming soon. I don't know exactly when, but I've been working on it. It's coming soon. That's about it right now.
That's okay. That's okay.
That I can say.
But we are excited. We're hoping for it. And I just want to tell everyone, listen, you can get the Grips of Darkness, and you can get the More Than a Conqueror, the More Than a Survivor prayer journal on Amazon, I do believe, right? You have them both on Amazon. Do you have them on any other platforms as well?
The Grips of Darkness is also on Barnes and Noble, Lulu, and Bam Books a Million.
Awesome. So all of your links to your books and to your Empress Creations jewelry business is also going to be in the description on this podcast, so they can reach you and they can find you. Do you also offer your public speaking? Are you booking for public speaking engagements as well?
I can see.
Wait, am I putting you out there? Am I adding to your list of services?
My repertoire, yeah.
And if someone wanted to have you speaking at their engagement, how would you like for them to contact you?
They can contact me via Messenger, Facebook. I guess I could give you the information.
Awesome. And we'll have that listed in this as well. We'll make sure that people can reach you, send you an email, because I believe even beyond the books that your voice is also much needed. I mean, not to mention that you're a singer, so we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that too. But I just Thank you. You're just such a beautiful soul.
Thank
Your
you.
smile, your kindness is infectious. And not to mention, you and Erica are a riot. Listen, people, okay? I don't know, Steffon and I are in the same state. We're in Connecticut. So those of you listening in other places, you may not ever see this, but I'm going to tell you, Steffon, they just be cutting up in the corner. Listen, these women are full of life and joy, and you can tell that the joy of the Lord is with them, because you can always find them somewhere just laughing it up, and you want in. You're like, what are y'all laughing about? I want to know. Like, what's the joke? Tell me. And their social media posts are just hilarious. And I just love seeing someone who has been through so much can walk in the joy of the Lord. That is the absolute proof that God, only God could bring joy after mourning, give beauty for ashes.
Don't start nothing.
Girl, don't get me started. Don't get me started.
Only God.
Only God.
It's possible.
Yes. So tell me, to a woman who's listening, who is going to get that book, who is going to get that prayer journal, but she needs a word of encouragement right now because her situation is just that bad. What would you speak into her life right now?
Generally speaking, to women, period, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a domestically abused woman.
Mm-hmm.
As women, period, we are violated and affected on so many levels daily because of what we carry. We tend to carry extra stuff that we don't need to carry. We carry it. And before we know it, it's weighing us down. It's keeping us from reaching our goals and our aspirations, and being able to attain those promises and gifts that God has originally planned and predestined for our lives. So what I would like to say in this moment to the women is that, number one, you can't do anything without God. Without the Lord on your side. He is a mind regulator.
Yes.
He can fix your heart issues. And I know it may sound cliche-ish, but it is so. It is so. Nobody can do you like the Lord. And the peace that he gives when you release, when you learn how to release, the peace that he gives, it does surpass anything you can possibly understand. You're never too young. You're never too old. Nothing in this world is promised. But God.
But God.
But God. But God. He is here yesterday, today, and he will continue to be here. He said he never leave us nor forsake us. Everything else will pass away. Trust me. You need something to hold on to and something to help release the burden, to release all the extra stuff. We women, we carry stuff in our pocketbooks, and I'm using that as a symbolization.
Yes.
Packing stuff, just packing. And next thing you know, we can't get to what he has for us. We're so consumed that it actually blinds our viewpoint, our perception, our view. That's not what he has ordained and predestined for our lives. It's not. And the only way to get to what he has for us is to release a lot of stuff. Attach yourself to him.
Yes. Yes.
Stay there and watch him do it.
Wow. That sounds to me so liberating to hear. If I were in that place, and at times I am, right?
That's right.
That sounds so comforting to know that I can go to the Lord with all of this.
Yes.
And you said, our purses like symbolizing, metaphorically, stuffing the purses. And it's so funny because I stopped carrying a purse quite a while ago. I have my little wristlet, and I only have two keys on my keychain. It's my car key and my house key.
Hello, somebody.
And I'm gonna go a step further and say this: my husband used to have a lot of keys on his keychain, and I remember us having a conversation. I said, "Honey, why do you have all those keys?" "Well, there's the keys to my mom's house, keys to my dad's house, keys to this and that." And I said, "Babe," I said, "you don't need to have that on you at all times." But when he took all those keys off and now he has the same thing as me, the car key and the house key, he literally said to me, "It was so hard to take those keys off." He said, "But when I did, I feel so much lighter." Isn't that crazy? Something as simple as taking all extra keys off a keychain. I said, that right there. That was the Lord. Like, it may seem so simple, but to us, it was literally saying, I don't need to carry all of that with me.
Yes.
I don't need all of that.
I don't need all
the stuff in my purse, 7 different lipsticks and this and that. And literally just still feeling can't find nothing.
Can't find nothing.
I remember the days of taking a small purse and putting it in the big purse and walking out the door. And it's like, no, I walk out the door, cell phone, wristlet, keys, and I'm out the door.
Out the door.
And I find that getting all those things off of me literally allow me to move more freely.
Yes.
Everything I need is close to me. I ain't got to worry about where my purse at. I ain't got to worry about this. I'll put my phone in my pocket. I ain't got to worry about any of that stuff. And so thank you for using that analogy, because I can identify with the unloading that we forget to do, the declutter that we forget to do, our homes.
Yes.
The things we forget to unload and let go, we're harboring and holding so much. And it's like, nah, I can let that go.
Let it go.
I can let that go. I'm so comfortable now. I will throw something in the trash in a minute. My husband's like, "Babe, where's it?" I'm like, he was like, "Let me move it before you put it in the trash." It's like, yeah, because it's gonna go. Because, we moved twice and we had to move. Well, we moved and then we moved again because we had an opportunity to move into a more private home, a duplex, as opposed to an apartment. So we took the opportunity. Otherwise, we wouldn't have moved, but we wanted a yard for our son. And so we took the opportunity, and it was annoying to have to move, in less than 2 years again. But even that move, stuff went in the trash. It's like, we only been 2 years. We ain't even been 2 years. Why are you throwing stuff away? I don't care. Throw it away. And so
because we will collect stuff.
That's right.
I used to be addicted to pocketbooks.
Me too.
I still have. I don't even use I had to have a pocketbook, big old, and the big ones.
Yep.
Like you said, you place the little one in the big one.
Yes.
And one day I said, I can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
I can't. And the liberty, the freedom.
Yes.
I got a little carryover, little small carryover.
Yeah. That's it.
Like you said, it's on me.
I
don't have to.
That's right.
I'm free.
Your hands are free to do the work of the Lord. If we were going to use this as analogy, because I'm not carrying bags, my hands are free to serve, others, to do the work. Right. It's just man, thank you for that, Steffon. Thank you for bringing that forward, that to bringing a picture to that, because I really can identify and demark in my mind when I switched over to unloading and that liberation that came with that, This has been a great chat. I thank you.
Yes, thank
I thank you
you.
so much for just
Thank you.
giving your time and sharing, what God is doing with you, because I tell you that extraordinary um, crown that you wear, that God has given you, it is for the world to see and to be blessed by. And I thank you, sis. I thank you so much for
Thank you.
supporting women, for being a woman of integrity, for being, all these things, and being sincere. Just all of what a real sis is.
Mm.
You are exemplifying that on your platforms and even in your day-to-day interactions with others. And so thank you for that. Again, everyone who's listening, you can find all of the information concerning Steffon's ministry and her business right on the description below this podcast. You can purchase her books. Please go and check them out. Purchase her book and her prayer journal. If you, sir or ma'am, need to be blessed, because domestic violence happens amongst men too.
Yes.
We don't talk about it, but it exists. There are women who are abusing men just the same. And so we want to make sure that you know that we care about all people who are in abusive situations, whether they are physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. There's abuse in that capacity as well.
Yeah.
We want to acknowledge that we know that you're out there, and this is a resource that can bless you. So thank you so much, Steffon, for your presence here tonight. Don't miss another episode of the InHERview podcast. I'm your host, Jay Renee. You can reach us on Instagram, stay connected. You can subscribe. Please subscribe to us on YouTube, because if you want to see this beautiful woman's face and how her smile is infectious, you want to go to our YouTube channel and see the video for this podcast, and you can see why I love her so. And I know her voice is going to captivate you, but wait till you see her and how lovely she is. And you're like, I have to have her book because she's so beautiful. She's just so wonderful. I just think that God's glory shows on you. So everyone, please reach out if you need jewelry for a special occasion. If you listen, show that jewelry, honey. If you need it for a special occasion, please visit her website. Again, all of it will be in the description of this podcast episode. But until next time, please remember, normalizing hard conversations is healthy. Okay? Normalizing these hard conversations is healthy for your mental health, your spiritual health. It is good for you, and we should continue. Thank you again for being here with us today. And you all have a blessed week. Goodbye.